Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. The realization didn't fade with sleep. It didn't soften with time. It sat in my chest like a stone, heavy, undeniable. I'd been choosing this, not consciously, not maliciously, but choosing nonetheless. Every time I said, tomorrow, every time I turned away from the mirror, every time I made myself smaller to avoid being seen, I'd been casting votes for my own disappearance. And the election had been unanimous. The next morning, the voice in my head changed. It wasn't questioning anymore. It was defending. You're being too hard on yourself. This is just how you are. Not everyone needs to be visible. Some people are just private. It sounded reasonable, compassionate even, but I recognized it now. It wasn't protection, it was procrastination. Procrastination wearing the mask of self-acceptance, telling me that staying small was a personality trait, not a choice. That invisibility was preference, not fear. I kept showing up. Breakfast, movement, sleep. But now it felt different. Now it felt like rebellion, not against the world, against myself. The old version of me, the one who'd kept me safe by keeping me hidden, started fighting back. Every morning, she whispered, "You don't have to do this today. You've already done enough. Rest is self-care." And she was right. Rest is self-care. But I wasn't resting. I was hiding. And I'd been hiding for so long, I'd forgotten the difference. I joined a gym. Not a nice one, just a 24-hour place with fluorescent lights and machines that smelled like disinfectant. I went at 11 p.m., when no one else was there. I told myself it was about convenience, but really, it was about invisibility. One night, a guy walked in. Older, headphones in, minding his own business, and I froze. Mid-rep, mid-breath, mid-existence. I wanted to leave. I wanted to disappear into the locker room and wait until he finished. But I didn't. Not because I was brave, but because leaving would have proven the voice right. The voice that said I didn't belong in spaces where I could be perceived. So I stayed. I finished my set. I moved to the next machine. And he never even looked at me. But I felt it anyway. The exposure. The vulnerability of occupying space without apologizing for it. I started noticing my body in public. How I walked. How I stood in line. How I sat on the train. I'd spent years making myself compact, crossing my arms, rounding my shoulders, tucking my chin, not because I was cold or tired, but because I was trying to take up less room, trying to be forgettable. One day, I stopped. I stood in the elevator with my shoulders back. I didn't lean against the wall. I didn't pull out my phone. I just stood. Like I had a right to be there. Like my presence wasn't an inconvenience. And it felt terrifying. More terrifying than any workout, any diet, any change I'd ever tried to make. Because this wasn't about my body. This was about my existence. I started looking at mirrors. Not every day, not for long, but I stopped avoiding them. At first, I'd look and feel nothing, just observation. This is my face, this is my body, this is the shape I currently take. No judgment, no goal, no when I lose weight or when I'm better, just acknowledgement. And slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice, the mirror stopped being an enemy. It became neutral, a reflection, not a verdict. 6 weeks in, I had a bad day. Nothing dramatic, just a gray, heavy day where everything felt pointless. I didn't want to eat breakfast. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to keep pretending I was changing when I still felt like the same person. The old voice came back, softer this time, kinder. You've been so hard on yourself lately. Maybe you should take a break. You don't have to prove anything. And I almost listened. I almost crawled back into bed and let the day dissolve into nothing. But then I realized something. The old version of me wasn't trying to protect me. It was trying to preserve me, to keep me exactly as I was. Because change, even good change, meant she would cease to exist, and she didn't want to die. I sat on the edge of my bed and spoke out loud. To no one, to myself, to the part of me that had kept me small for so long. I know you're scared. I know this feels like losing, but I can't stay here anymore. I can't keep waiting. I can't keep disappearing. It felt ridiculous, talking to myself in an empty room, but something shifted. The resistance didn't vanish, but it softened, like it had been waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be seen, just like I had. A coworker invited me to trivia night. Casual, no pressure. Just a few of us. You should come. Old me would have said, I'm busy, maybe next time. I'm not good at trivia. But I didn't. I said, okay. 1 word, 2 letters, and it felt like stepping off a cliff. The day of trivia nights, I tried on 4 outfits. Nothing fit right. Everything felt wrong. I stood in my bedroom, surrounded by discarded clothes, and felt the old panic rising. You don't have to go. They won't miss you. You'll just be awkward. I looked at the time. I could still cancel. I could say I wasn't feeling well. I could retreat into the safety of my apartment and the familiar silence of my own absence. But I didn't. I put on jeans and a sweater. I didn't check the mirror again. I just left. The bar was loud. Too loud. Music spilling from speakers, laughter bouncing off walls. Bodies pressed together in a way that made my skin feel too tight. I almost turned around, but then I saw my coworkers at a table in the back, and one of them waved. So I walked over. I sat down. I ordered a drink. And I didn't disappear. Halfway through the night, someone announced karaoke. I felt my stomach drop. No. Absolutely not. I'd come to trivia. I'd shown up. That was enough. But then the first person got up. A guy from accounting. Nervous, off-key, and everyone cheered anyway. Not because he was good, but because he tried. And I felt something strange. Not inspiration, not motivation, just exhaustion. Exhaustion from years of watching from the sidelines, from waiting for a version of myself that was ready, from postponing joy because I didn't think I'd earned it yet. I didn't make a conscious decision. I just stood up, walked to the screen, and typed in a song. I don't even remember what song. Something I knew. Something safe. The screen showed a queue. 5 people ahead of me. I sat back down. My hands were shaking. My coworker leaned over. Did you put in a song? I nodded. She grinned. Hell yeah. And I thought, I can still leave. I can go to the bathroom and just not come back. No one would blame me. But I stayed. And I watched the queue shrink. 4 people, 3, 2. Then my name appeared on the screen. The music started, and my body froze. Not in fear, not exactly. In recognition. This was it. The moment I'd been avoiding my entire life. Not the singing, but the being seen. Accurately, honestly, imperfectly. Without a plan, without permission, without a better version of myself to hide behind. Everyone was looking at me. And I had 2 choices. Sing or run. And both felt like dying. I picked up the microphone. Part 3 coming soon. Subscribe if you've ever stood on the edge of your own life and didn't know whether to jump. Nothing was ever missing. I was just waiting to believe that.